Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar presented by Andrew LaFurla, Product Director of Profitability and Cost Management at Alithya. Please feel free to submit any questions in the Q&A chat, and I will turn it over to Andrew now to dive into how to optimize and drive profitability.
Great. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for today. As Mary mentioned, my name is Andrew LaFurla. I am the Product Director of Profitability and Cost Management here at Alithya. I do play multiple roles within our organization. One of those roles is being the solution architect on a lot of our PCM, profitability and cost management solutions or implementations. I also work very closely with Oracle, help do some of their beta testing, help give feedback that our clients are giving me, and of course, help resolve issues on behalf of our clients. I do have a blog, so if you want to know anything about EPCM, you can go look at lafurla-epm.com. I do post there most months, so there's a range of information for you there. This presentation, as Mary mentioned, is going to be focused on profitability for banks, but if you do want some additional content specifically around the allocation journey that a lot of our clients take, so moving through from Excel through to a purpose-built application, the webinar that you want to look for on YouTube is the Unlocking the Power of Oracle EPCM for Business Success. If you'd like to know some more about some of the other use cases, such as operational transfer pricing, a good one to look at again on YouTube is the story we did with MUFG. So I do work for Alithya. We are a publicly listed company. We do have over 4,000 employees, so we're pretty big. We've done over 1,000 implementations at 1,000 clients, 3,000 projects in total. We've done over 700 ERP and EPM projects in our Oracle division, which is the one I work for. We have got over 25 years of experience. We've worked very closely with Oracle over those 25 years, specifically in the field of profitability and cost management. We've always had a very, very close relationship with them. We do have 350 dedicated Oracle consultants, and we actually have 8 Oracle ACEs. We actually have 2 Oracle ACEs that are just dedicated to profitability and cost management. It's a very, very dedicated team, extremely well experienced in their fields. Now, we do everything from Oracle, ERP, and EPM. So we're going to focus on the cloud application side of the world today. We're going to focus on enterprise performance management, EPM. We do offer other services as well for cloud infrastructure migration, legacy systems modernization. We offer advisory services, which is consulting, as well as organizational performance. Really anything that you need that is Oracle, EPM, or ERP focused, we are the people you want to talk to. Now, this presentation is the 4th and final one of Alithya's banking series. So if you are interested in understanding how you can leverage your Oracle Cloud Enterprise license, or you're new to the Oracle Enterprise Cloud license and you're in the banking industry, definitely go back, have a look at our various presentations that we've done already. Very simple, scan the QR code. It's going to take you straight to YouTube, and you can have that and review that information at your own leisure. But as we said, today is our last one, and we're going to focus on profitability for banks. Now, our learning objectives for today, we're going to cover a fair bit of ground. We're going to try and cover the actual presentation in about 35 to 40 minutes, but we are covering 3 specific learning objectives in this presentation or webinar. Firstly, we're going to look at why is profitability analytics important and what are some of the key challenges that clients face. Next, we're going to introduce what Oracle Cloud EPM is, or Oracle Cloud EPCM. And I know I'm throwing out acronyms at you. If you've never heard of these before, it's okay. We're going to get through them before we get onto the next topic, which is really how to build your profitability analytics solution and really help you to produce those meaningful profitability analytics to empower your decision making. So with that, let's start with our first topic for today. Why is profitability and analytics important, and what are some of the challenges? So if we're thinking about profitability analytics and why they're important in one sentence, it's because they link strategy to execution. We want to make sure that in this world that we live in today, we can not only be reactive to our changing world and our changing business environment, but we can also be proactive. We have the abilities to really go out and see how we think changes in the market or changes in our world are going to affect us. And if we have to dig a little deeper into that, the first one is that profitability analytics are important because they enhance our decision making. So it provides banks with the insights into the profitability of various products, customer segments, and channels. And this really helps your understanding of which areas to contribute to your bottom line and really help you make informed decisions about the resource allocations, your pricing strategies, and your product development. Now, you also have an element of risk mitigation or risk management with profitability analytics. So it's all about helping you to assess the risks that are associated with different products, services, and customer segments. This will help you to understand which one of those products or customer segments are riskier ventures, or which are the ones you can gain the most from. Where could you be the most profitable? Of course, operational efficiency is important. You really want to make sure you can optimize your operations by analyzing your cost to revenue ratios for your various processes. And profitability analytics can help you highlight some of those inefficiencies within the areas that you need to help some cost reduction or help implement some cost reduction in. Now, if we have to look at that from really coming back to that react and proactive way of thinking about the world, you really want to have a look at that graph. So we know that's a good example of the stock exchange. Everything's doing fine, we're growing great, but then you hit a point where it starts to turn down. And how do you handle that? How do you have the right information at the right times to make the best decisions possible in order to ensure not only your organization's survival, but to be able to thrive within those difficult market conditions? Now, on top of that, we also want to make sure that profitability analytics gives us a customer-centric approach. So profitability analytics will help us to make sure that we can identify not only the high-value customers and their segments, but also how to tailor the services according to their needs. Of course, profitability analytics can help us analyze the customer behavior, their preferences, the profitability, and they create really customized experiences to enhance their satisfaction. It also helps us with product innovation. So evaluating this profitability of existing customers, existing products, and services, and also help us to identify gaps and opportunities that might be in the market. We all know that the world moves incredibly quickly these days, and to stay ahead of it, you can use profitability analytics to help with that. And then finally, performance measurement. You can use profitability analytics to provide you with comprehensive views of the bank's financial performance. Nowadays, we often want to go over and above the traditional metrics to consider both the interest and non-interest income, operational costs, and the risk exposure of the banks. And of course, profit analytics can help you do that. And a great visual to kind of represent a lot of what I'm saying in this is a whale curve or a profit curve. Now, this is one of the curves that are out the box in Oracle EPCM. And really, you can see in that little example there that the bank, in this case, has 80,000 in profit. So clearly a very small bank. But what you'll also see is there's a potential for this specific bank to make 140,000 in profit, but they're losing money. They're losing $60 million because they have a group of products or customer segments or services that are not profitable and are obviously not adding to the overall profitability of the bank. So the question comes, why are we losing that money? And how do we optimize our bank to make the most profit that we possibly could? Now, some of the challenges to getting some of those benefits for profit analytics is often it's difficult to link strategy to real world facts. And we're talking about facts here in terms of information. So profitability systems often aren't connected to real world operational data sets. We can't get the data in smoothly, and we can't get the data in such a way that it enables us because it is real. It's live, essentially. Your traditional financial analytics really isn't enough anymore. You can't just base all your decisions on the data that is coming out of your general ledger. You really have to take it that step further to understand the true profitability within those products or services or customer segments through that process of allocation. And of course, you also have to deal with a lot of the common challenges within most organizations. This can include things like your technical and cultural challenges. Every organization is different. Every organization has a different approach to the technical infrastructure and technical aspects of their organization. They also have cultural challenges that can affect how you absorb the profitability analytics solution. Of course, there's also the strategic application of analytics within an organization. So every organization, often, well, not every organization, quite often, an organization will have a whole range of different analytical tools that they utilize. And that can often be a problem because one group of people will be using one tool, another group of people will be using another tool. You can't collect the information and you can't actually get valuable results because it's too segmented. And then, of course, data silos and talent gap. Again, in most organizations, different departments or different divisions will have a preference to one tool or another. That can be problematic because it creates an issue with data silos. But of course, you can also just have a generic issue of talent gaps within your organization. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that all too often there's a disconnect between your analytics and your actions. You want to have really measurable actions, you want to have measurable decisions, but you want to be able to make actionable decisions. And that's really what we're going to focus on. And really for us, and really regardless of where we're implementing our profitability analytics, we want our solutions to be fast. So we want them to be flexible. So flexibility is key. They have to be able to change, have to be able to adapt to our changing world and the world around us. And they have to be able to create what-if capabilities or provide what-if capabilities, because that is crucial to us. We have to be able to say, what happens if some of my base assumption changes? What happens if I lose a major customer or major customer segment? What happens if I don't provide this product anymore? What happens if the next pandemic comes around? The tool that we choose for our profit analytics should be able to have that ability to provide us with that flexibility and scalability as well. They have to be accurate. I think this is probably the simplest on the list. If your profitability analytics solution is not accurate, people obviously will not trust the data. If they can't trust the data, they're not going to make decisions based on it. So pretty straightforward, but really speaks to that your profitability solution has to be trustworthy. They have to be able to say, great, this is data that I can utilize. We always want our solutions to have a shared methodology. So when we talk about profitability analytics, we talk about it most often in the realm of actuals. But of course, forecasting comes into play quite heavily in this realm as well. We want to be able to take the methodologies that we deploy for actuals and deploy them against forecast scenarios and forecast points of view. We don't want to have two completely separate models. We don't want to have two completely separate places to do it because that creates opportunity for differences between them. So we want to be able to have shared methodologies. And then finally, we want to have transparency. So we want to be able to, again, create that trust in our analytical solution. We want to be able to have people to be able to understand what we're doing and how we're allocating and how the numbers have come up. But we want to do that in such a way that we're not giving someone a code book and saying, great, here's the code that I use. That's not going to be useful to most business people. We want to be able to provide that transparency by not only being able to draw into the data itself, but actually to provide a playbook of how we actually produced our results themselves. Now, clients do, in their search to produce fast profitability analytics solutions, we tend to see an evolution or a journey that clients will go through. And this slide is the basis for one of the other webinars I mentioned. So if you do want more details on this, definitely go have a look at that. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. But clients do go through a sort of an evolution. So like everything in finance, where do we start? We start in Excel, because everything in finance starts in Excel. And generally, it works. If you're a very small company, if you only have one person who does your profitability analytics, if you're not going down to a very low level of detail, Excel can work for you. But the problem with Excel is that it's not very scalable, doesn't grow very well, it's very error prone, it doesn't have a lot of transparency. No one wants to look up 400 different VLOOKUPs. It doesn't have any governance and it lacks reporting. So what we find is that small companies will use it, but as they grow bigger, it just becomes a solution that's just not maintainable anymore. So the next section is great. Let's look at the general ledger, because there are some scenarios, there are definitely some allocations that you do want to perform within your general ledger, but it's not the place you really want to do your allocation solutions. And that's because your general ledger, it's tough to get data in. You have to often do a ton of manual work outside in order to get the data in to your general ledger for your allocation rates, for example. That, of course, destroys your traceability of it. You cannot do any kind of what-if analysis or even budget allocations a lot of the time. It makes your financial close a lot more bloated and potentially a lot slower. And of course, it's a general ledger. It's not meant to adapt from an allocation methodology perspective as fast as you may like it to. So a lot of clients will get there, they'll do it, they'll realize this is just not the place they want to be. And then they'll say, great, well, I'm going to move on to the next thing. And now they have really two choices. They can either have a custom built application. So they could say, great, I have a planning application. Let me try and force PCM or force allocations into there. Or I have a relational tool. Let me custom build something that is perfectly suited to what I need. And sometimes custom built allocations will work in the short term. Sometimes they won't. But a lot of the time, what we do find is they tend to be these black boxes. So certain people know everything about them. Everyone else just gets a report at the end of the day, and that's it. No traceability, no transparency in how the numbers got, no ability to slice and dice the numbers at a very granular level. And often these become quite unwieldy, but they also create very, very key personnel dependencies. Now, the other option, and of course, a lot of clients just do this straight from Excel sometimes too, is to have a purpose-built solution. So when I say purpose-built, I mean something like Oracle Cloud EPCM, which is a dedicated solution offering from, for example, Oracle. And it has PCM, or Oracle Cloud Profitability and Cost Management, has one purpose: to perform allocations. It's all it does, and it does it incredibly well. And because of that reason, we can create fast solutions in there, and that we can actually focus for individual clients' needs and get actually what they want out of the system on the first try. Now, with that, you've heard me say a lot of acronyms: EPM, EPCM, Oracle Cloud. What actually is it? So let's start by introducing, just if you've never heard of Oracle Cloud EPM before, really what it is your one-stop shop for anything EPM. So if you're looking for a place where you can do planning, connected planning, for example, Oracle EPM is where you want to go. If you're looking to do comprehensive financial close, Oracle EPM has a business process for that. If you're looking to analytics and reporting, great, Oracle EPM can support that. And of course, if you're looking to tie this all together with various Oracle and non-Oracle data sources, great, Oracle EPM has the ability to do that. And what makes Oracle EPM quite unique is that we want to focus on putting the right, or making sure that our clients have the right tool for the right job. So we don't want to do profitability and planning. A lot of planning tools will try and force profitability into the planning solution that's not built for it. Can it work? Sure. Is it meant to work for it? Not really. Some tools are financial close related, and you'll try and force profitability into that. Should you be doing that? Maybe. But wouldn't you rather really use a dedicated tool, the right tool for the right job? And that is where EPCM comes into play here. Oracle Enterprise Performance Management, Enterprise Managed Oracle. See, now I'm getting mixed up in my acronyms. Oracle Cloud EPM includes Oracle Cloud Enterprise Profitability and Cost Management. It's included in the suite, and I think what is really important in that discussion is anything I'm going to talk to you about today in our solution is part of EPCM and is part of Oracle Cloud EPM. So no additional licenses. If you've got the enterprise licensing from Oracle, anything that I'm talking today is going to be included in that. If you're not using it, well, maybe you should look at it. It's in your tool set. You have it already. Now, moving on to Oracle Cloud Enterprise Profitability and Cost Management. When we talk about this business process from Oracle, we often talk about it that it's going to be able to provide or suit for your profitability solutions or your profitability allocations. And that's true. EPCM can absolutely do profitability solutions, and it's incredibly good at it. But it can also be focused on costing. So if you don't want to do full-out profitability analytics, and you're just doing a costing to gain flexibility into the consistency of your cost allocations, great. EPCM is the one you want to use. If you just want to do shared service costing and you just want to reduce pushback from your division leaders with transparency, great, EPCM can do that. If you're looking to do intercompany billing and provide auditors with insight and transparency that you need for your intercompany allocations or intercompany charges, great, EPCM can do that. If you want to take it a step further and do operational transfer pricing between your different multinational entities and monitor and manage the risk associated with those sender and receiver relationships, great, EPCM can do that. If you want to do IT spend, you want to do IT costing and chargebacks, you want to better understand the cost and effectiveness of your services and products provided by IT, projects provided by IT, great, you can do that. And you can do investment analytics to drive investment strategy, insight, and profitability. And of course, across all of those different examples, you can do scenario modeling. So I can do what if across any of those examples and make sure that my organization is best suited for any kind of upcoming events that I can potentially see or I want to try and prepare for. Now, obviously, there are more examples than that, but the way that we try to think about it at Alithya is we really classify EPCM into 5 different use cases. So we have clients that look at shared service costing. They want to allocate out your group HQ costs or your group overheads or your group services like occupancy, finance, IT. They want to allocate those out. Great, we'll classify that as a shared service model. We have clients who want to do intercompany billing, such as operational transfer pricing or contractual charges or intercompany billing. You want to move those expenses or charge those expenses between different divisions. Great, that's what we would call intercompany billing application. If you're doing expense allocations and allocating out overheads or services, we would classify that as an expense allocation model. If you're doing a fully allocated P&L and you're allocating that P&L down to a channel, fund, or region level, it's a fully allocated or thin ledger. And of course, you get operational profitability, where we're doing allocations down to a product profitability or client or customer profitability level. Now, these aren't mutually exclusive. You absolutely will see today me use an example of shared service costing, even though we're talking primarily about operational profitability today. You will obviously see an element of fully allocated P&L in what I'm going to talk about today as well. But really what this classification system helps us do is identify the overarching purpose of a client's model. So for example, operational profitability. And in doing that, we know, of course, what are some of the benefits that clients are looking for to get out of this model. But very importantly, we also understand some of the challenges. Each of these model types have specific challenges that we have to make sure that we can get around. And by knowing and expecting what model type is up front, we can, of course, service the client to the best of our abilities. Great. So we've spoken about why profitability analytics is important. We spoke about some of the challenges. We introduced some of our acronyms and what Oracle EPM and EPCM is. But how do we go about actually building our allocations to produce meaningful profitability analytics and empower decision making? And what we're going to use today as an example is what we have, or what we've called Alithya's Banking Digital Accelerator. And what it is, it's just something that we've used or we've taken from a lot of our different clients that we've implemented banking profitability at. We've built an accelerator, and it really is just a pre-described list of dimensions that have been pre-populated, pre-described rules, pre-described reports, and pre-described data sets that we've used to actually help accelerate some of our projects. We use it for demos. We also use it to accelerate the actual implementation as well. And we're going to use that as a basis for this discussion. But of course, if you've got very specific needs at your organization, EPCM is going to be able to cater for your needs as well. So this is not something that you have to follow exactly what I'm showing here. It can be tailored to whatever your needs need to be. But regardless of where we implement, we always implement within 4 kind of unique high-level stages. And these 4 stages are actually kind of your business as usual process as well. This is what your monthly process will look like. And the first step for us is to source our master data and our data and actually put it into our system. Now, Oracle EPM is fantastic with connecting to a whole different range of sources. But the one that we tend to start with is Oracle Enterprise Data Management. And that is where we tend to like to source our dimensions from. So Oracle EDM, again, is a different Oracle product. It really helps us maintain, for example, your chart of accounts and share that with your different EPM products. So you're not duplicating effort all over the place. It's got governance built in. And you can ask us about that. We're not going to cover too much of that in this session, but it is definitely the place where I prefer to source the master data from. We can source financials or actuals from Oracle Cloud ERP, or really any ERP. We can source our Oracle Cloud EPM can be the source for our plan or our forecast financials and drivers as well. And then, of course, we want to source operational data sources as well. As we kind of said before, we want to make sure that the data that we have is as live as we can make it. And to do that, we want to connect it to sources of data that really give us the best idea of the operational statistics as we can get it. And of course, Oracle EPCM can connect to all of those different data sources, whether they are Oracle or non-Oracle. There is a way to get data out of them into EPCM. Obviously, EPCM plays incredibly well. With Oracle products, we can do a direct connection to a lot of them and just pull the data straight in. But if we can't do a direct connection, we have other tools in order available to us to either extract the data, transform it and pull it in, or to take a file that is provided by those sources and digest it into EPCM. So data coming into EPCM, incredibly easy. It is really a benefit of the entire EPM world, but EPCM specifically is the one that we see connecting to a lot of different data sources. Of course, once we've got our dimensions into EPCM, once we have our data into EPCM, now your power users are the people that are going to shine. So they're the people that are actually in charge of running your model. So they may make dimensional updates to specific dimensions if they can, if they want to. They may input specific drivers that really don't have a data source. So for example, time surveys. They'll input that data if they need to, and then they will actually look at the rule sets and rules. So Oracle EPCM is different from a lot of the other EPM products, where we want the power users, the people with business knowledge, to actually be the ones who are controlling the rules and rule sets and the execution of the model. They're the ones that are going to drive it. They're the ones that are going to change the logic if they need to. They're the ones that are going to spin off what if analysis if they need to, or what if scenarios if they need to. And they're the ones that are going to say, great, I'm happy with my data. I'm happy with the results that I have. Now I'm going to go ahead and publish it. And you can do reporting in EPCM. It's a great reporting tool as well. We'll go through the reporting options in a little bit. It's fantastic. You've got a lot of different options, but you can also export data from EPCM into OAC, for example, and you can provide very rich and colorful dashboards through that ability as well. So lots of reporting options, lots of ways to get the right data to the right people. Now, I spoke a little bit about dimensions, and let's talk about a little bit around the digital accelerator that we have and just some of the dimensionality so you can get an idea of how powerful the actual output from PCM can be. But if you've never heard about the word or dimensions before, really dimensions are really in EPCM applications and in EPM applications in general, they really are how we organize, segregate, and load our data into our applications. And of course, they form the basis for our calculations as well. Each dimension will contain hierarchies. Each hierarchy will contain members. And when we load data into our system, we load data across those various dimensions and across those various members. Now in EPCM specifically, we start up by having different types of dimensions, but two dimensions that we call system dimensions. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but your system dimensions are balance and rule. These dimensions provide the traceability elements that you need. So in EPCM, I can give you the inputs and outputs for every single rule that I execute. Again, if you think about the transparency and just the trust of a system, that goes an incredibly long way, where I can justify the ins and outs of every single rule, and I can tell you what every single rule is doing. We have what we call point of view dimensions, or point of view, POV dimensions. These are dimensions such as year, period, scenario, version. We obviously load data into these. So we might load, for example, FY24, January actuals and working. We might load FY25, January forecast working. And when we're happy with those working versions, maybe we put them into a final version where they just don't change. They kind of just sit and they're solidified there. But what version is also powerful is it gives us an ability to take, for example, an actual final and spin it off into a what if version. And now I have a playground. Now I can play with the data. I can change my cost pools. I can change my drivers. I can change my assumptions. And I can tweak things and see what if different things happen without affecting my final actuals data. And that's something that is quite unique to PCM and the EPM world, because it really is that ability to spin off from a different version and to change my assumptions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Now, we do have some analytical dimensions. These are more Alethea type dimensions. And we find that these two kind of help us in really enhancing the analytical side. So data source for us really helps us to distinguish the different sources of data, as the name would suggest. So your GL versus planning versus operational statistics. It also helps us to track allocations as you flow through your model. So this is very useful for us in scenarios where you've got a two-tier allocation system. So for example, your tier 1 tier is a shared service allocation model. You get it to a certain point, that's got to go back to the ledger. And then your second tier is profitability analytics. Great. Data sources, fantastic at helping us to segment those out. View is for your time series analysis. So quarter to date, month to date, and then periodic. Now, the real business type dimensions are the dimensions where you really do your profitability analytics. So the ones that we have in this example are the home channel. That's the home channel for your or the home channel branch for a specific customer or customer segments. You have your origination channel. That's where the account was opened or the account according to the segment was opened. You have the product, which is your financial instrument, your customer segment, and then of course you have your service channel as well. Now, what's powerful about this model is that when I do my profitability analytics, I can look at profitability at any intersection across those business dimensions. So I can look at, for example, show me the profitability for a specific customer segment. I can then drill into that customer segment and tell you which products are most profitable for that specific customer segment. And I can drill into that even further and tell you the services that are provided or the service channels that are most profitable within that specific segment. And I can do that for any combination of home channel, originating channel, product, customer segments, or service. And on top of that, I can do that as a comparison between actuals versus forecast for January this year versus January last year. I can do it at any kind of slice and dicing across any of these dimensions. So you can see just how powerful that is to me in being able to analyze my profitability at a very, very detailed level. Now, allocations are what is really the powerful part of EPCM. And EPCM, when we create our allocations, we create rules. So rule is the lowest level of allocation methodology within our tool. Rules are grouped into rule sets. And we're not going to go through every single one of these just for the interest of time. But really, you can see on the left-hand side there that I have a rule set, and then underneath I have 100. So the 100 is the sequence. So I can create rule sets that run in a specific sequence. Lowest numbers will run first, highest numbers will run last. And this is important to controlling the flow of allocations within my model. So in this case, the treasury calculations, these are calculations, not allocations. And I want these to actually be completed before I start my true allocations, which, for example, my waterfall allocations. And in waterfall allocations, for example, I might be doing shared service allocations where I'm taking my G&A or products, human resources, etc., and I'm allocating them down to your cost centers they support based on various drivers. You can see as I flow through there, again, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I have allocations that push out the expenses, the indirect expenses, for example, to products, to branches, and of course, to any customer segments. And at the end of the day, what I get on that rule set 500, off that rule set 500 is run, I now have fully allocated profitability at a customer segment, at a service channel, and a product level. So now I have a fully allocated P&L across all of those three dimensions. But of course, I've always been talking in this card as a customer segment. So I'm not going down in PCM in this example to the lowest level customer. If we think about most customers, customer segment will most likely be sufficient. But at some customers like credit unions, maybe they do want to go down to the absolute lowest level of detail. And to do that, I would actually produce a unit rate. So a unit cost rate by segment, by product, by service. And I could export that, run it into a relational table or a relational database that is good at grading volume, maybe not so good at doing complex calculations, but I can take that unit rate and then drive it out to the buyer via the volume to the lowest level customer. And in that way, I get the best of both worlds. I'm doing very complicated calculations in a tool that is meant to do them. And then I'm also just getting customer level, very granular profitability in that relational source that is good with volume. Now, why I say the allocations are the bread and butter of EPCM is because they really are meant to be managed by a power user. So we start off by defining models. Models are just what contain our rule sets and rules. But what's powerful about the model is that I have a model, and it's almost sandbox. So I have a model here called Alithia's banking profitability model. I can spin that off and say, great, I'm going to create a new model called what if, scenario 1. And that new model, I can now go ahead, change drivers. I can change cost, where I'm getting my source cost pools from. I can change my rules. And I can execute that against my what if version. And that in no way will touch or interfere with my primary model. So it allows me that ability, that flexibility to kind of see how my world changes and how it affects me. What happens if I lose a major customer, for example, without affecting my actual primary model. And to do that is incredibly easy. So as I said, we'll start by creating rule sets. Once we've created rule sets, we can then go ahead and create rules underneath those rule sets. So you can see here, it's all very visual, all very point and click. I haven't shown you one thing of coding because coding doesn't really come into play within EPCM. Once I've created the rule sets, you'll see the process of creating rules is incredibly easy. All I really have to know is what is the purpose of my rule, where am I allocating from and where am I allocating to, and how am I going to allocate that data. And the reason why that's important is because PCM, again, is a low code or no code implementation tool. So when I create the rule, I need to know the purpose. I give it a name, I give it a description, I give it a sequence. So you see here, sequences are appropriate for rules as well. I can run a group of rules in a rule set before I run the next rules. I need to know where it comes from and where it's going to. So I define my source and I define my target. So in this specific case, I'm allocating out from the executive office to facilities. And my activity is business support. It's business support activity charge. So as long as I know I'm a business person, I don't know how to code, but I know what I want to do. I know where I want to allocate from and to. So great, I'm going to point, I'm going to click, and I'm good. And then finally, I've got to tell it the driver basis. So what is my actual driver that I'm using for this? Am I using headcount? Am I using volume? Whatever it may be. And again, once I've done all this, I'm going to hit save. And provided there is data in my source, provided there is driver data to support my allocation, this is going to work. I didn't have to code it all. And this is why EPCM is really our favorite tool for our end users to really utilize for allocations. It doesn't require IT to run and support. Now, once I've done all of that, I can go ahead and report. And I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but we have a lot of different reporting options in EPCM. So we do have out-the-box reports. These are reports that really involve no configuration. So, or very little configuration. They're really out the box. And there are reports like auditing reports or profitability model reports. So model program reports are reports that allow me to print off effectively my rules and my rule sets that I've defined and give it to an auditor or give it to someone who's saying, how did you do these allocations? Great, well, I'll give you something you can absorb and show it to you. They also have traceability reports, which is graphical representations of your actual allocations. And you also have reports like rule balancing reports, which show you your ins and outs of every single rule in your system. They tend to be very focused on your power users or administrators, and they really are to provide support for your allocations models. Then we do have SmartView reports as well. SmartView is the Excel add-in that supports ad hoc reporting. So really, really nice slice and dicing. We also have data forms. So data forms are great for introducing some of the more complex kind of reporting we would like to do for users. So we use it as a springboard a lot of the time. We also use it for data entry, but a nice way to kind of explore the model. We have management reports, which are more standardized reporting for distribution. It's a powerful tool if you're trying to, for example, have customer segment P&Ls or region P&Ls. We can do that and produce the same report every single month in a specific format, for example. And then we do have dashboarding. So I spoke about the whale curve before. I spoke about some of the other scatter graph. I didn't speak about it. We have a scatter graph as well. We have some dashboarding that is specific to PCM, is the same as those two. But we also have all the dashboarding that is available across the Oracle EPM suite as well. So quite a really good, powerful dashboarding capabilities and overall reporting within PCM. Now, keep in mind as well, we can actually export as well. So if you have OAC, you can connect directly to EPCM. We can also provide an export that we can put in a relational table that you can take up and provide that reporting to. Great. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed our presentation today. We're going to close and then we're going to open up for some questions. But just to very quickly close, today's session was all about providing you the key to profitability analytics within your bank. And it is all about actionable insights at the end of the day. It's about making sure that you can identify those market risks and opportunities, really, because being able to identify that is only as good as the information that it's based on. So making sure that you're connecting to the right data sources and you can get that into your system is going to be a key critical success factor. Of course, you need to have the right information at the right level of detail, and you need to be able to distribute that in a very easily absorbed way. And we feel that at Alithya, Oracle provides you with everything you need. Oracle EPCM specifically provides you with everything you need to have the right level of detail in your profit analytics. And you can go as detailed as you want in EPCM. And if you want to go even deeper than that, you can use Oracle Cloud, other cloud products to really get it down to that lowest level of detail in analytics. And we believe that you also have the ability to look at the data in such a way that it can be absorbed by your business leaders and really provide that key that you need to driving not only sustainability within your organization, but also growth and prosperity. And with that, I'm going to open up for questions. So Mary, if you want to have a look and see if there's any questions that are available, we can start going through them.
Great. There is one question here for you, Andrew. Is it possible to start with just some of our allocations, like our overhead allocations, or do you have to do a big project to drive costs all the way down to service or customer?
Great question. You absolutely don't have to do the whole thing at once. The biggest thing with that approach is it does take a little bit of foresight. Your data model has to support that growth for the future, but provided your data model can support that growth, you can absolutely start small and build bigger. And we've got quite a few clients who did go down that route, but they said, great, well, I'm not quite ready. So I used the example of, for example, the tier 1 and tier 2. And that was a real customer. They wanted to do shared service costing that went back to their general ledger, but they also wanted to do product level profitability in the future. So what we did in their case, we had the first phase, which is the tier 1, we pushed it back to their ledger. And then in the second phase, I think it was 1 or 2 years later, we came back when they were ready and we did the second phase. So you absolutely can. You just have to make sure that you're thinking about where you want to go in the future to make sure your data model can support it.
Great. Thank you. Looks like any other questions have already been answered today. So this concludes today's webinar. Thank you all for attending, and please check out our website at alithya.com to stay up to date on our upcoming webinars, insights, events, and more.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.